Hey, it's your girl Audra Richardson back with another episode of Love and Lead Like a Queen. I am so excited to introduce Kendall Brown, which is a licensed professional counselor. She's a licensed chemical dependent counselor. She's a EMDR therapist. Let me get that right. Let me get all those letters right, okay? She currently works at the Potter's House Center of Counseling and Behavior Health. She also owns the Evolve Counseling, Consulting, and Coaching, where she provides therapy for children in the foster care, but also family. And so thank you for being on this episode with us. I'm so excited to have you. Have some girl talk.
Hey, thanks for inviting me.
Yes, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you have been really busy during this time for counseling for many, many people. I know that during this season that we're in with this COVID and the pandemic, whichever word people choose to use, right? But counseling has been one of the things that I think we all need. We have always needed counseling, but I do see and I hear many, many ladies are saying, hey, now I'm in counseling. And so I think my first question to you would be, how have COVID impacted families to where you've seen them say, hey, we need counseling?
Yeah, that's a good question. The big hot word is pivot, and so a lot of families have trying to adapt and pivot and make these changes and just figure out what life should look like during the pandemic, being stuck in a house with everybody, building relationships, learning communication, fair fighting rules, right? Good argument tactics, just good ways to communicate better and get along with one another in the family, trying to stay connected and in unity. That's been a big thing that's been happening with families so far that we've seen in the counseling field.
So do you see where maybe the woman of the house is saying, hey, we need counseling, or is it more of the men that's saying, because sometimes men feel like counseling is not for me, like I don't need counseling, like we got this, right? But do you see where the women is the one that's calling you, or maybe some men are saying, hey, my family needs help, or are we seeing men crying out as well?
Yes, we are seeing a large population of men. I have had a few couples, and the man has called and said, hey, our marriage is really struggling right now. We need help, with parenting. We need help with just trying to stay together, and so a lot of people have decided to separate since COVID. And so that they started going to counseling first, or maybe at the end of COVID, and it's been really a struggle. And so you see a lot of separations, you see about it on TV and things like that. And so a lot of couples have been coming, and the man has initiated it, and it's been really good, and it's surprising. Yeah.
That's great. Like, I really like to hear that, because some of the questions I get from women, I work with high performance women, and they're like, I can do all the things, but I really enjoy when my husband or my significant other can see that, hey, I need help, and they make the call and say, hey, my spouse need help. I'm going to hire the counselor. I'm going to hire the therapist, the housekeeper, the chef, and all these things to help make our home better. And so I really like that the men are stepping up and saying, hey, our family need help to hold it together. And so you're seeing the men, they're coming to the table and they're stepping up, and they're actually saying, hey, we need this.
Yes, I have to. Yeah, it's been pretty cool to watch. Yeah, it is.
Wow.
It is amazing.
Wow. Yeah. That's great. Like, that really makes me feel better to know that men are noticing in the ignition that to bring in help, to say, hey, we don't have it all together, but I'm willing to save my family. That's important, because all we see on social media and the news is family breaking up, this person getting a divorce, this one's cheating. We see all the negative, but there are families out there that is saying, hey, no, help us. We're screaming for help over here. And so I'm excited to know that men are stepping up. But I want to know, Also, we're seeing a lot of things that our children, and I say our children because they are, when we see kids are dealing with issues at school, they're dealing with because they've been on lockdown in the house. Like mine, they're still home, homeschooling, but for kids, they may think that, they're on lockdown or whatever case may be. But we're seeing kids that are, bullying is the high cases of bullying, school shootings like never before. It's like, oh my gosh, what is going on? What are in these kids' mind? Are you seeing where children during these family sessions where the kids are beginning to open up to you and share about bullying in the schools?
So kids don't like to share with their parents, but they do come to therapy and they'll just share how they feel in counseling. And that is really good. If parents will utilize bringing their kids to counseling, because with all of the bullying and with all of the things that they're experiencing and seeing, even with COVID and the transition with wearing a mask or being at home, I hear kids saying, I lost a lot. I missed a lot, socialization. I didn't have it, and so they're depressed after this. Some of them have felt lonely in a way, so some of my kids who graduated during COVID, right? Like from the 10th grade into the 12th grade or in college now, and they're like, I don't even have really good social skills and things like that. I'm like, well, we can, we have to recover that. But even the little babies, they're anxious and they're worried, or they're just going to school and for the first time in second grade because they missed those years, and so that's difficult. And so being able to process that and talk about that, because the school counselor, they don't get a lot of time with the children. One school counselor for 300 kids or 500 kids is not really enough. And so they really need to tap into coming to therapy and talking to a counselor and allowing the kids to really share how they feel. I went and participated at Konania for after the shooting in Mansfield. And we was talking to the kids, and the kids, they just don't share with their families. They don't share with their parents. It's not the same as going to talk to someone who doesn't place judgment or who's not asking a lot of questions or who doesn't have an expectation bar for them. And so it's important. Even the family, we were telling the parents, like, they're like, well, how can I get my kid to talk to me? Well, come to therapy and we can do family therapy or do individual therapy and talk one-on-one and give you the skills necessary in parenting a kid in these times. Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I remember when our oldest daughter, because we're a blended family, our oldest daughter, we put her in counseling immediately when we got married. And I advised my husband for us to do that, and he would bring her, and I said, hey, this is time for you and her to go, because when you're blending a family, all the kids are not going to transition as easy. Right? Because they feel like they're leaving their family, they're moving to a new town and city. She's, in high school, leaving her friends and thought she was gonna always graduate, at this school. And one of the things that I told my husband, I said, you can't judge whatever she say in the session. It's okay. Like, that's her point of view. And sometimes as parents, we have to be okay with saying, hey, you know what? But they said that's not true. But that's their point of view. Give them that space to talk to the counselor and get off their chest how they feel. Give them that space to write things down, to journal. I'm big about journaling, tell my kids journal things, and give your kids that space to just be themselves. It don't have to always be right. And Absolutely. So do you see in the sessions where when kids share something that sometimes the parents may want to judge?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. From everything, kids, a big thing I've been seeing is just how they dress, or gender, right? Gender and identity, it's like my mom wants me to wear my hair like this, or my mom wants me to dress like this, or she wants me to sit like this. And, so much control and not allowing the kid to just be themselves. Or, oh, you seen a fight? Who did it? Like just allowing them to let this be their safe space, right?
Right.
And be able without judgment. Parents are sometimes so critical, and so wanting to jump in, and it's not always the time to jump in or ask questions or overwhelm the kid, but allow them just to listen. Just listen to them. They really want to be heard.
Just listen to them. You know, we do this thing at home with our kids, and so this might help someone else be like, well, how do you do that? Because sometimes kids can say things and you like, I know you did not just say that, like, but I like to give our kids that space. Like we have these bar stools, you know, at the bar, and when we finish eating dinner, it's like, okay, who's on the hot seat tonight? And now we just listen to you. How do you feel? How are you feeling this week? What are you thinking? Did you not like how we said something at that moment? Now, my thing is watch your tone in the way you deliver it, though, because you know kids can be a little disrespectful, right? And you have to go back and check them just a little bit, like, hold up, let's keep this respectful. I want to hear your opinion. I want to know how you feel in this house because you play a part in this house. So this is your safe space. You get a few minutes to just express yourself. And so I think it is important for parents to give our kids that space to think for themselves, to say, hey, it's okay for you to think and feel this way, but let's check in. Let's check in and make sure what you're thinking and what you're telling yourself is good, is healthy, you know, like we have to do for ourselves. Sometimes we think things that is not right.
Absolutely.
Not right. We need to quit telling ourselves that same story and clean that stuff up. So I think the counseling is great. What is maybe you can share maybe one or two things that you see during this time we're getting ready to go in 2022. Oh my gosh, that feels funny even saying that. It does. Like, hold up, can we slow it down a little bit? But time waits for no man, okay?
Not at all.
But what would you say as we are preparing for the new year and we don't know what it's going to look like? We don't know. We don't have all the pieces. We don't have all the answers. And I do believe as women, we may think that we have all the answers sometimes, but we don't, right? We really don't, ladies. Let's make sure that we put a pin in that. So it's best that we put people in place to help us, right? It should be a village. And so with us going into the new year, what would you say that families should kind of focus on as far as dealing with the trauma or preparing them, because we don't know what the pandemic or COVID is going to look like, that it would help them, it would help the relationship, it would help them individual and help our children as they prepare to go into the new year? What is maybe one or two things you could say as far as counseling perspective to kind of assist them as we are still kind of dealing with a little trauma? People are dealing with abuse, still dealing with verbal abuse, mental, you know, all these things. What is something that you can kind of help us to put in place for our families?
Absolutely. I think you tapped into some of those things, such as like journal writing, right? A lot of times, you know, I ask the parents, can you get your child a journal, you know, so they can write how they feel? And then also let them know that you're not going to read their journal. Nobody's going to write in a journal they feel like somebody's going to read it, you know? And so a lot of times that is the case, like, oh, you know, who's going to read my journal? So kids won't write in it. But if you validate their feelings, you know, allow them to have an opinion, you know, and to have a voice, you know, that's important. I think that the hot seat thing that you do, you know, like that's just that listening piece. You know, they want to be heard. Again, if you set out some time weekly with your child, your children, whatever that looks like, you know, hey, you know, let me hear from you, you know, what's going on. And in this moment, it's laissez-faire, hands off. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to be critical. You know, and kids are like, yeah, right. You're going to say something. You're going to do something. No, I'm not going to. But like you said, you still be respectful. Your delivery, your tone, your affect, you know, like how you say it. But you can still be honest here, and allowing your kid to be honest. That takes away some of the anxiety that they have, some of the sadness that comes from with depression. Those type of things are underlining and undercursors to more anxiety and depression. So if we can allow them to communicate and just share how they feel, just share, and that can really be a thing that helps kids adapt better. That can be pivotal. That can be a paradigm shift in the family dynamic if we start to do those type of things. And I think that we just have to start allowing the kids to speak and write from the lips or the fingertips. Let it out, not hold it in.
Absolutely. And something came to mind when you said that was, I think as women, sometimes if we're not careful, we'll put the same boundaries on we'll allow our spouse that space, but not our kids. And we kind of put those boundaries on them and expect them to think and do things and act the same way. But no, if you will give your spouse that type of, say, hey, okay, let's talk about it. You can say, tell me how you feel, but why not give that same respect and space to your kids? Someone that you're shaping, like we're nurturing them, they get their, we model this behavior before them. So give them the same grace that you would give someone else, or give them the same space that you would give your friend, right? Let's make sure we are giving that same, that, as they say now, this energy. Let's give the same respect and energy, to the people in our house. Let's be good to the people in our house. Absolutely. So that when we go outside of our house, we know how to be good to other people.
Absolutely.
Let's be the same person at home and outside the house. Okay.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. So do you have anything else you would like to add? I already know you're coming back. We're going to have her all throughout 2022. So y'all just set your notifications, because she's going to come and help us get through this next year, help us to figure out, how to help in our relationships, help with our children, because y'all, we need all the help we can get. Kids are a little bit different now. I always tell my oldest kids, they laugh at me because I say the teenagers that I have now is much different than when our grown kids, when they were that age. They're different to me. And when I talk to women, they're like, they think different, they move different, so much technology. And you have to limit that. So it's so much that we're going to talk about, right? So we're going to have you back. So anything else you would like to add to the women, maybe that they can implement? We're going to implement some of the things that you already said, but anything else you would like to maybe leave with them?
One of the things that I think that is so important is affirmations. Like we have to speak to ourselves, and empowerment, loving ourselves, because we give so much, and when we are depleted, we have to refill every day. Don't skip a day without telling yourself who you are, and an identity, and don't lose your identity in just being a mom or just being a spouse. Okay. And so we loving ourselves. You are it, remembering that you rock. You're awesome.
Absolutely. I agree. Hey, let's do those affirmations and teach your kids. It doesn't matter how old they are. I do them with my 3-year-old. I did it when he was 2. Like, talk to your kids. If you're pregnant, talk to the baby. Say, I am, you are. Tell the baby who that baby's going to be. And it's teaching them when we model the behavior, we model what they should do, sometimes without even saying anything. And so if they see that you are speaking good things to yourself and they hear it, they will do the same thing. So I think it's important that we do it, and then we tell them about it, and then they begin to do that as well.
Absolutely.
So important to do that. Well, thank you so much for coming and doing this episode with us. I can't wait to have you back again so we can help families get through these trying times. So thank you for everything that you're doing in the community. Thank you. You have been serving through this whole pandemic, and pouring out so much. Y'all, she has been booked and busy, okay? But we appreciate your time for adding value to the community. So that's all we have, y'all, for this episode of Lovingly Like a Queen. We'll see you on the next episode. You all have a good one.